Greetings from the Erie Coast. This is Mad Shad. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. That's a great day, huh? Celebrated, revered. Because we all know that without fathers, man, this country would be nothing. Fathers are what teach their sons and daughters how to be good men and good women. Fathers fix things. Fathers teach those. They are the pillar of strength and power. They are the patriarch and the matriarch. Fathers. So on this Father's Day, definitely get out there and do something nice for your dad. Do something nice for your dad. Father's Day for me, I don't really observe it. Don't really have much of a father. I had some father figures in my life. My father's situation, which I will go into in depth and in detail, is a very strange tale indeed. But I did have some fathers. Obviously, my father didn't get to see much of him, so whatever. When I did, it was usually just in passing or something bad, which I didn't know about because I was a young kid. A lot of things were suppressed on my father. For me, everything was suppressed. Information, everything. Strange tale indeed. But I got to meet my sister's father. And then he moved on. And then my brother's father, he's the one that actually stuck around and tried to be a father. Being a troubled kid, a troubled teen, scared little white boy in a black neighborhood, in and out of reform schools and detentions and programs and all this. Finally, when I went to reform school, I got out and I went to a therapeutic foster home where I met an amazing man named Amos. And he was more than a father figure to me than anyone ever in my whole entire life. There were some others later on. My Sifu, in when I took Shaolin Kung Fu, he was very fatherly. He was in his 70s. He was 72 at the time. At the time, he was a Lao Shi. So if you know anything about, he was one below Sifu, but he was still the teacher. It was his school. He was just a Lao Shi. He had not made it to Sifu status, which he did later on after I left. He is definitely my Sifu, and father figure, yes, but he would like to say it was more like a brotherly kind of thing, universal brotherhood, which I do subscribe to. I do subscribe to the universal brotherhood and sisterhood. But on this day, Sunday, Father's Day, it's all about the dad. And even if you didn't really have a father, even if the streets were your father, even if the world was your father, which I looking back, hindsight being 2020, that's what I looked for. I looked for some type of, I was the big rebel. You couldn't tell me shit. And if you did, I was probably going to do the opposite. So, yeah, reverse psychology worked great on me, didn't it? But yeah, hey, everything worked out great, didn't it? But it's all about the Father, Father's Day. And for your religious people out there as well, you got your Father. You're the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Which is a Trinity, which is also one. But it's also the Father, the Creator. He creates. That's what fathers do. They create. They build things. They make things. They build relationships and make things. They also protect and destroy. Fathers don't get a lot of credit. Fathers are tough skin, quiet, reserved, or cussing, raving mad lunatics. Hey, sometimes you got to do that, right? But you got to reveal your fathers, man. And the fathers of lore, our grandfathers, our great-great-grandfathers, the line of fathers, going all the way back to the All-Father. You know me. Got to go back to the Norse, to the Vikings, to the Norse. But Odin, All-Father. And how he became All-Father, he killed his grandfather. He killed his great-grandfather, Ymir, who wasn't a really very nice entity, really. But he's credited with him and his brothers, Vinny and Vey, killing their great-grandfather, and with his body making the world as we know it. And then he and some other people, which you never hear about ever again, in the creation story. One was his brother, one was somebody else. Found some driftwood. One was Asher, an ash tree driftwood. Yep. He took that. And the other one was something Eden, an Eve tree. And from those trees, they made the two first humans. I had the name. I know Asher. But anyway, interesting, huh? From these two pieces of driftwood, they gave them. They were bodies. They were bodies without souls or something. But they took these two pieces of driftwood they found on one of their walks, and they turned them into humans. And supposedly that's where all of us came from. Hey, whatever. I didn't think I was made out of driftwood. No. But hey, whatever. So many creation stories, so many fatherly stories. I like to think about my father. My father, he was definitely a scoundrel. Yeah. Now his father, Red. My father's name was Jerry. His father's name was Red, and they were straight up from Sweden, by the way of Britain. I think I've talked about it. I might as well say it. Lunsford. So they were. The name Lunsford is a derogatory name given to the northern Vikings that took over that area of Britain. There was a river called the Lun, and that's what the people would say is that, oh, those are the Lunsford. They would ford the river, rape, pillage, and plunder, and then go back over to the other side. And like, nah, nanny, boo boo, you can't catch me. So they had the ocean as their outlet, as their egress. So they came in from the shore, landed, crossed the Lund River, raped, pillaged, and plundered, then went back over and lived and settled. And if somebody came over to fight them, they had to cross the river, they had to cross the Lund, which they could deal with them there. They couldn't circumvent, they couldn't get their flanks, they'd see them coming. It'd be a long trek around. And they had the ocean, they could just jump in their boats and go if they needed to. So they always kept an out, always keeping out. So they did that. And when the massive armies would march upon them, and that's what they would do. And they're like, okay, we're out of here. As soon as they'd leave, they'd come back and do their Viking thing. So yeah, that's my people's on my father's side. My granddaddy Red, he was a great man, and he tried to keep the family together. COVID. Who knows? Who knows what's killing me, right? So my father, Jerry Lunsford, was a absolute scoundrel and scallywag. What he did is he did this whole polygamist scam for the taxes and for all this stuff. He scammed the money. He scammed a lot of money off the government. He had 16 wives in 8 states. There's 34 kids. He was getting money from all those kids. He was a truck driver. He also worked at the Pepsi and Coke plant. I don't know, whatever, Pepsi, Coke, whatever. He drove, and he's one of those guys. So Vendor and Jackson. This is all I was born in '74. So yeah, I'm just telling you my story. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. Go ahead, look it up, please. I'm very curious because I too have done the research. There's not a lot to be found. There's some, but so that's how and he preyed upon basically weak women, and he would find a weaker woman or a woman that is susceptible to his charms and his scam, and boom, he'd give him a kid, and he'd get that money from the taxes. And since he was a truck driver, guess what? He was never at home, was he? Yeah, he'd get to run around the town. He'd go around all of the states that he'd make his rounds. And hey, he's got all this money. He would drop off some food. He would drop off a bag of toys. Hey, what's up? What's your name? Yeah, here you go. I mean, had to be talk about the logistics involved in trying to remember all the kids' names and the wives, and oh yeah, that's Teresa. That's yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, can you imagine that? So he stole money from every place he ever worked, and materials. He was a well-known thief. He was a tall man. He had a beard, maybe similar to mine. From what I remember, it's funny. I thought he looked like Chuck Norris, kind of, because he had the beard like Chuck Norris, and he was tall and slender. But that's just me being a 4-year-old, 3, 4, up to 5 years old when the last time I seen him. Actually, no, I seen him when I was 7 years old, or 8. 8 years old was the last time, but on a regular basis, 4 to 5 years old is when I seen him, on a regular basis, like once a month or something, And my mom wouldn't talk much about it. My family, my relatives, aunts and uncles, they had very convoluted stories when I would ask them and interrogate them about stuff. My little investigations. Stories back and forth were always changing, and a lot of them just didn't want to talk about it. which I found out that they tried to get rid of all that, trying to sweep it under the rug, so to speak, because their family was trying to be all highfalutin and all that. So anyway, us being the black sheep, the poor ones, the poor family, but now they're all poor. They all had their successful businesses, and had their kids, and now their kids have kids, and so whatever, the cycle continues. But I remember one time I was 7 years old. I was staying at my aunt's house, my aunt and uncle's house, and I was a very astute kid. I was very observant and shit. And I was playing in the living room. Nobody was out. Nobody was with me. I was just hanging out. 7 years old, playing with something, toys, whatever I had, keeping myself busy. And I see a big white truck come up. Oh, okay. Anyway, let me go back up. From time to time, my dad Jerry would pick me up and take me for a ride out into town in his big truck. We would drive around. It was so much fun. He'd take me for ice cream. Kind of do this thing. Just doing his thing. Whatever. It was no big deal. Some daddy and son bonding. Whatever. It maybe hindsight being 2020, it was probably him having to do that to keep up the appearances. Whatever. You got 16 wives to choose from. Damn, dude. So yeah, hey. But you gotta do the things. You gotta play with the kids. You gotta take them out and do stuff. But so this time, when I was 7 years old, I'm staying with my my aunt and uncle, and I see this big white truck dovetailing, no trailer, drive up into the park, into the driveway. They had a circular driveway. He drives right up in, and I'm like, oh, it's Daddy! And I ran outside, and yep, sure enough, I'm like, Daddy, hey, Daddy, wow. I mean, I'm just so excited to see my daddy, man, this is great, and he's like, hey, little sport, hey there, buddy, old pal, what's your name? Yeah, hey, you want to go for a ride? Yeah, you want to go for a ride? Go for a long ride? Come on, jump in, we'll go. Yeah. I'm not even thinking, that's my daddy. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Hell yeah. Done it before, we'll do it again. And my Uncle Bill comes outside, and I remember this conversation. And I'm facing my daddy, my daddy's facing me, and he's also facing the house. And Bill, Uncle Bill, no, I'm sorry, Uncle Ron, and Uncle Ron, and I see my dad, boom, stand up straight and throw his hands up. I'm like, come on, let's go. I'm in the middle of it all. And I didn't know it at the time, but he was keeping me between Uncle Ron and him. He was, keeping me in the center of us. I didn't know it. I found out later on, years later, that Uncle Ron had a gun and was going to shoot my dad. And I remember him saying, Jerry, you're not supposed to be here. You know this. Go away. Get out of here. And I'm just like heartbroken. I'm like, no, he's my daddy. I want to go with my daddy. I'm all alone. It's, yeah, sure, my aunts and uncles and cousins, they're fine, but this is my daddy. I haven't seen him in years. 7 years old. It's probably been, 2 years since I've seen him? Yeah, I don't know these things. I don't know what's going on. But, so he leaves. And they get me in the house, and they call the cops, and the cops come, and, I don't know what happened from there. But I found out later why yes, he got in a lot of trouble. He was starting to get caught at what he was doing, and the heat was on him. So, from what they told me, was that he was trying to cover his tracks, and he was possibly trying to abduct me and take me somewhere else. I don't know. I mean, they were trying to make it sound like he was going to kill me, he was going to sell me, or, but they did find other kids, other sons and daughters that he had abducted and just took them over to another person. And then here, I have a kid. So whatever. So he was gathering his seeds and spreading the seeds around and trying to hide his seeds. So, but at 7 years old, yeah, my mom, they had a divorce. My family forced my mom to divorce my dad because they did the research and investigated him and found out he was bad news bears. And at 5 years old, he left. Never seen him again until that day. And then, divorce and all that. They're all hush hush. And at 9 years old, I remember seeing his obituary, seeing he made the paper. He got shot at Pine Ridge Club, and he was either working on the place as a carpenter, or he was there drinking. Pine Ridge Club in Tennessee was known for a lot of knives and shootings. It was like a honky-tonk bar, made famous by Buford Pusser. You know that guy? Big stick. That bar is actually in that movie. But it's been around for years. It's one of those places, straight up honky tonk, rough place. You definitely, if you want to, I've been there I've been there too. I never got in a fight, but whatever. People got shot, got stabbed. It was one of those places. It had a history. So that was the story. Is that my dad got shot there. Don't know why. Still don't know why. I don't know if he was a carpenter working at the place and he got shot. That sounds kind of weird, but whatever. Or that he was there drinking and partying and got shot. I don't know. So I never went to the funeral. There's nothing like that. I had the paper. I had the 9 years old, and I just remember thinking, "Wow, my dad's dead. He's gone." Well, shit, that sucks. I mean, it's throughout the course of my life, and my mom had already remarried and had I had a new daddy, and he was trying to do his daddy thing, with my young unruly ass, but that's my father's story. That's my father. I did go back later. I actually, when I was in therapeutic foster home, I found they are asking I was doing so well, and they were like, "What do you want?" I was like, "I want to know about my father. Dig up everything you can about my father." Because I can't get a straight answer out of anyone, and plus I'm a young kid, so how do I go about this? I didn't know. There was no internet at that time, there's none of that. So they did, and they're like, he don't exist, you don't exist. Like, what do you mean I don't exist? He's like, well, you don't have a birth certificate. It's like, what do you mean I don't have a birth certificate? Yeah, you don't have a birth certificate. Jerry Lunsford never existed. Apparently something happened. He's been expunged. Records have been moved around and taken, and all we have are police stuff of Jerry Lunsford and what he's done, what he's been arrested for. He's been to prison. I'm like, damn, really, my dad, huh? Wow. So I found out that aspect of it. I did find out where my grandfather lived, which I had met my grandfather before. He was a taxi cab driver. And yeah, he was all red. Everybody was red. Everybody had red hair, red. They were either all red or blonde, fair skinned, very Nordic. Everybody, blonde hair, blue eyes, green eyes. All the women too. But so, I had met him because my mom would call him from time to time for errands, to run errands and stuff in town, and he would pick us up free of charge. And I had to draw him one time. I forget how old I was. I was young, very young, and he was a very very nice guy, and he took to me and my mom and as family. It's like your family, yeah, for sure, whatever. And I had to sit there, and I was an artist at the time as a kid. And he's like, draw me. And he sat there, and I gave me a piece of paper, and I drew him. And he cried when he got the paper, and thank you very much. I was like, I'm a young kid. I'm like, okay, what you crying for? So I don't know if this was before or after my father's death. I don't remember. But I knew that I was starting to become an artist. And I never got. I wish I would have got the picture. But whatever. I probably could go back, because I went back afterwards and met with Red when I got out of the Marine Corps. I went back, and he was an old man, very, very old. At the time when I was young and I drew him, he had very long hair, long beard, all red, long red hair, long red beard, and big, tall and strong. And when I seen him the last time, he was just a shriveled up old bald-headed man. Couldn't walk, but he still had his wits about him. So, and we did talk, and he filled me in on a bunch of stuff. Basically, he said, "Don't go down this." He said, "Mike, I tried." He's like, basically, he said, "I tried to keep the family together, couldn't do it. Don't do what they did. Don't be your father. Don't ever be like your father." So I was like, "Oh shit." Anyway, a little interjection there as well. After my father died at the age of 9, I don't know, I was 10, 11, 12. I had a knock on the door one day, one hot summer day, and there's this blonde-headed guy, probably in his young, early 20s, and a woman taller than him and redheaded, and I'm just like, and I answered the door. I'm like, "Hello." They're like, "Are you Shad?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And we're just like, "Oh, we found him." I'm like, "Who the fuck are you guys? Who are y'all?" I'm like, "Mom, somebody's here and they're being weird at the door." And so my mom and dad come out, stepdad, and they're like, "Who are you? What do you want?" And they're like, "We'd like to come in and talk to you about his dad." And they're like, "Really? Who are you?" "We're his brother and sister." "Yeah, please come on in, have a seat." And they proceeded to tell this tale. They ushered me out the room. They kicked me out of the kitchen. But I was like, "No, I want to be here. This is about my dad. I need to know this." See what I mean? They all my life, people were just like, "You can't handle the fucking truth." Yes, I can. I need to know. I don't give a fuck if he was a serial killer, whatever. Whatever he did, I need to know these things. Okay? I need to know. Include me. And they were just like, "Okay, sure." And I sat there and I listened, and they told me this story, what I've just told you, about the 34 kids, and that they were traveling and meeting everyone, and telling them exactly what kind of story, what kind of life that Jerry Lunsford had, and what he did, and how many lives he impacted. And I was just like, wow, this is an amazing story. And you're not going to find it anywhere. You're not going to find it. It's gone. It lives right here on YouTube with me. I have no family heirlooms. I have no pictures. I just have stories and second-hand accounts and my first-hand accounts. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got. And that's all I need. To tell you the truth. That's all I need. You know? It was enough. It's enough. Especially now. People always ask me, you got any kids? I'm like, not that I know of. That's another story. Yeah, seriously, not that I know of. I really don't know. Is it possible? Sure, why not? I've been all over the world. But I just thought it'd be. I like to dwell on that every Father's Day, because that's my father, my father, and I got to know these things. You know, I even know the guy that killed my father, and for the longest time as a kid, I had thought about going to prison and talking to this guy, you know, who killed my father. And why'd you kill my father? And, you know, I'm so angry, but not really, because, you know, hey, I need to know. But apparently he served his he did his 30 years, got out, and quickly died after that. So I can't ask him anything either. All I have is old police reports and just a blimp of obituary in the newspaper. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got. So, and that's all I got to go on. And, you know, of course, accounts from his family and some from my family that I could piece together. And, of course, from the DOC, and DOJ, in Tennessee. And that's it. But it's important to know where you come from. It's important to know. I am my father's son. Regardless of what he did, you know, how bad he was, he is still the reason why I'm here. I mean, really. Him and my mom got together and made me. So that's it. I got to know these things. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So, so this Father's Day, you know, really, really cherish those moments, you know. Cherish those moments. Because that's going to be your memories for the rest of your life. And for his, too. I mean, it's, you know, that father-son bond, you know, it never goes away. It never dies. And then when you become a father, if you become a father, then you can pass that on to your son. And that whole fatherhood will carry on throughout history, which has and will. So, it's Mad Shad. Encouraging you all to continue to train, continue to prep, and continue to you know, take care of your fathers. Because it's your fathers, man. It's your fathers that, the fathers of the world are what make this a better place. They really are. And they don't last long. They burn out quickly. So, especially in this mad, mad world.